Women control sex, men control marriage.
Control marriage and commitment. So we've talked about the women. What do you think is happening on the men's side? What do you think maybe they're struggling in or not getting right?
I feel men feel like, I think I mentioned this before, they feel they lost the place in so many different ways because of some of us having that independency and that work done on ourselves, and we're not so dependent. So there's some men that don't even want that person to be dependent on them. They want to control it, they want to manipulate it. And then you have the good quality men, then you have the guys that want to manipulate, and then you want the ones that, you know, they actually playing around. So you've got so many different categories to go around, that I feel men are very lost that way because they lost the place because of what's happened again with women's independence. And that is a massive issue. The women go, I want this, and they go from the 50 or 100 things that they want, and when they go on a date, that's the first thing that comes out, and it's just too demanding. So then men feel a little bit like, whoa. But you know what the problem is as well? Choosing the women that are not there for them, they're there for what they have.
It's very true.
And that is exactly what the problem is. Apart from losing their identity or believe their identity comes with the value of money or their success or their careers or what they've done or what position they're supposed to be because what the family said, what we've been indulged at schools, what society is saying or what social media is showing, that is a massive issue. And then you have all the list from the woman, and then you just don't know where you're going with it. So, and then you're going for the pretty girls that are absolutely crazily demanding, believing that woman is going to give it to you. I always say this, try and find somebody that's a little bit more at your level. And if it's not money-wise, then at least it's mentally wise. And that's a very difficult thing for people to understand.
I think you're right.
I think it takes a lot of work because, you know, as a male, how difficult it is to find people, especially women, that actually have a brain and they know exactly what they want, what they're doing, how they're doing it. They're totally lost. Women are lost, men are lost.
Yeah.
As much as people, you see it on many of the TV shows. So why are you looking into the men? You know that lovely TV show, the fun TV show, they put the balloon.
Oh,
so why are you looking into the men? I just want him to be nice. I want him to... Of course, we all want to have a nice person.
Very true.
But what are those at least 3 qualities on the character that will actually give you the right currency? Because that's his currency. The character.
I like
it's
that.
not the money.
The character is currency. Big facts.
But yeah, I could be here for hours.
No, I love that. I so true. And I guess I also think maybe part of it, and tell me what you think and what you've seen. I think there are a growing portion of men who are seeing women killing it, and they're like, okay, cool. Well, I can take the feminine position now. So it's like, okay, well, if a guy meets a girl and she's killing it in her career and she's established all of this stuff, and they date, he's like, okay, well, I don't need to be on your level at that because you're kind of doing it. And so I think a lot of guys they're kind of asking themselves. So for example, the easiest, most simple example would be going on a first date, paying for the first date, right? So if a guy goes on a date with a woman who maybe is in a very higher profession than him or significantly in a a better financial position, if she pays, he doesn't see a problem with that. And it's like, I understand it, because the logic is, well, if you earn more, then why should you not contribute more financially? But I think while a lot of women have elevated themselves in position of society, they don't want to take on the typical masculine role that men have done historically.
Okay, so let's take a second on that one.
Yeah, go for it.
This is when you're on your date. When would you talk about the gender roles into the date, or will you actually first, second date, or would you do it after?
You mean talk about it?
Because this is when it comes across to like, okay, so women in business, she's got her money. I'm not so much there. I feel a little bit more, so I don't really need to get to that level because she's got it already.
Very true.
But then this is what it comes to it. That's the maturity of the woman gets to the position, gets to the position where she actually understands that the attraction for him cannot devaluate just because he's not into that position, and then he has to understand that just because she's there, she's not more than him. So all the gender roles and all this position of being higher or lower than somebody else is what also is creating problems, because Right.
I agree. Sorry, go on. Finish what you were saying.
So then what it happens is, if he's very emotionally in tune and she's emotionally tuned as well, but she also making more money, where is the problem? Is she having the problem because she doesn't see him as a protector and she doesn't see him as a leader just because of money?
Mm-hmm.
But he's extremely emotionally intelligent and responsible and regulates and knows how to handle many things and has all these gestures and details and character, but then the money is the problem. So will he feel a bit weird just because that woman is here and he's here, or will he be able to cope with, I can provide something else that maybe she can't because she's constantly working, but I can look after the house in a different way, even though it's not money wise. So again, is that attraction between them create a problem just because of what we call success and career, money and status?
Yeah. So I think that if a guy is with a woman where she's in a higher position than him, generally I don't think he has a problem contributing more to the relationship in other ways, like you said, like emotionally looking after him, etc. And you can tell me what you think. I think the main issue with why that dynamic doesn't work is because the uncomfortable truth is many women struggle to respect that man the way he needs to be respected for the relationship to work.
And that's why, to get that respect to a man that hasn't got the money that they believe they should have, they need to be working on themselves before they get into a relationship with somebody that's extremely to the max on every other part apart from his money, only just because the world is not giving him that chance or hasn't had that chance. Can any woman out there cope with that? Is that so important for women? For what reason? Because they can't do it themselves, or they can do it but then they see you less because money is more important than anything else. Do you really want to be with a woman that believes money is more important than anything else?
I think it's not just about, I don't think it's just about the money. And I think that's the main component we're talking about here. We're talking about money, finances, success, status, influence. I just think generally, not all, but I just think most women just find it, I think they struggle to respect a man. They can like him, but that doesn't mean they respect him. And I think a lot of women's respect to a man that she's with, because when I ask most women, would you prefer to be with a man who you know knows you, kind of who looks up to you, or you look up to him? And 9 times out of 10 they always say, I'd rather choose a man that I can look up to.
I wouldn't even choose any of those two. Why do I need to look up to you?
I agree. I mean, why do you need to? But I'm just saying, this is the feedback I've gotten from women.
From like a pool or something.
Yeah, as in like, and also just what we see. Because I guess this is, because even if a man is in the more, is not on the same level as her, he's still a man. And part of how a man, which is really important for him to feel loved, is respect. And I think it's really difficult for a lot of women to respect a man that they feel isn't, if she feels that he's not on my level, then she can't respect him. Now, for some women, they think their level is economic position.
That's what we were saying.
That might be the issue, right? Because if they're thinking emotional, intelligence, wit, if they're thinking that, then he may be on her level, but maybe even higher, depending what kind of qualities he has, right? Regardless of how much he makes.
Like I can tell you, I've come across men in therapy, and the quality of the men to a quality of a man with money is 20 times better.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Oh, but incredibly, like they can motivate you. They know how to listen. You can listen to them. You can talk. You can analyze. You can go into depth. You can go into, meditation with it. It's incredible. It's another step, but that's the person that you are. It's like, are you going to believe that again? The status and money is exactly what you want to on a longer term, because all that stuff can go away. It's the same as the physical can go away.
Very true.
But if his brain is in the right place, I take a man in therapy better than a man that's in business.
I respect that and I celebrate and encourage that. Do you think most women would?
No. Not at certain age. I think maybe as we get older and we worked on ourselves, I think you will then do. Okay,
so why do you think only a certain age? Why do you think that age plays a part as to whether a woman's more likely to?
As experience. It's like you've been around, I mean, you know, I'm in this industry. I've been around men that will just buy you a flight, take you to Paris, buy you a dress. You get downstairs and you're in this beautiful place.
I need to date one of these men.
But then you obviously see that, and it's great.
Yep.
But when you are about to have a conversation and ask them a question that I just did, and you went, "Oh, that's a really nice deep conversation," some of them will be like, I don't know how to answer that.
Yes.
Or I'm not interested. Or why are you asking me that question? What kind of person you have next to you? Can they cope with a real conversation, a real matter in life? The only thing they're going to do is go, "Here, babe, take my credit card." Like, I have no time for that.
Yeah.
Is that what you want? Because I've lived it.
And I guess I was going to ask, do you think it's because they've experienced it, which is why they now value it less? So what I mean is, let's say we take a woman in her 30s who's never experienced being with a man who provides this lavishness. Do you not think there would still be an element of her desiring that
totally.
experience?
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's what the problem is. Because when I speak to some of my clients, some of my girls,
yes,
and I explain to them, like, look, this is the reason why it will help you to try and find a man with these qualities more than the guy that has this money. And they were like, yeah, T, but you haven't lived, you've managed to be able to live both, so you know both, but we haven't. I don't want to be under a bridge with my man, and
just because he emotionally fulfills me,
right? But you know, I want to live the quality. I said, what you want, the experience. Then you want that luxury. You want the fairy tale. That is not really a fairy tale, because when you know the reality that goes behind it, a lot of men with money are not even doing legit money. So really, like, it's not that easy to make that much money nowadays. The way that women believe, like, oh, he's a millionaire. I wonder what goes behind the millionaire. I'm telling you, there is.
No, I agree, and I go on.
I prefer a man that's making £2,000-3,000 a month than a guy that's making 20 and he's never home. He's already have the option to go with 2 other women. All he cares is about the money, because already he's on that frame of mind, and he's not really thinking about cultivating himself as a man and being really in a proper connecting relationship.
That union.
That's my experience.
No,
and that's
beautiful.
what I've got with the girls.
Yeah, and I genuinely believe if more people focused on that aspect, I think they would be happier and find better fulfillment.
I feel relationships will work.
But I think there's an equivalent on the men's side.
Talk to me.
And I think the equivalent on the men's side is having a variety of women. I think that a lot of men want to experience being able to sleep with different kinds of attractive women, have that level of variety, because most men don't. And not only are most men aren't, but most men never will, right?
Yeah, because they don't have it, as they say.
Sure, right? And I think it's funny because I had someone on who's really huge in the influence space, fitness guy, and huge following, very much loved up with his wife, has been for 15 years. But he said, yeah, he went through a phase where he was just sleeping with multiple different attractive women, all of this stuff. And I wonder if that's the equivalent for women, in a sense that, you know, for example, I could sit here and say to a guy, be like, you know what, I get why, you know, sleeping with different attractive women looks great, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. He's still going to be like, yeah, but I want to know.
I haven't experienced it, so I want to know.
Do you know what I mean? And so I think maybe there are some things in life, and if we talk about money, you know, it's very easy for someone who's got an abundance financially to say to someone who's never had that, be like, yeah, money isn't everything. But they're always going to be like, but I want to know what that's like. I need to get to the top of the hill to then understand what the meaning of the summit is at the peak.
I mean, you've seen it in celebrities. Like, look at Will Smith. Like, he says he's the happiest right now.
I saw that interview, yes.
Right. So when you see that, that's how you get to understand it. Like, I'm in a position where I can say, you know what, I've understand what the peak is.
Yes.
And I don't need to be on the peak to be able to find connection with somebody.
Do you think people can get to the understanding of, let's say for women, that the lavish lifestyle isn't all it's cracked up to be? Do you think they can get to that point without experiencing it?
No.
Wow, that's real. That's some real stuff.
I don't believe it, because you always want what you have not been able to have, or what that's what it happens. It's the same as, so many times the girls ask me, T, how did you go to that stage? It's the same as when you build up your confidence. That's another subject.
Yeah.
How do you know that is that way? Like, how do you get to that, that that centered where, you feel so comfortable about the person that you are, and don't care about anybody else's opinions, unless we're talking about age. I know you were going to bring that up, but that's a different subject.
Got it, not me.
But again, is a matter of experience. It's the same as when, you're a 20-year-old man, and then you're like, you want to get married and have kids by the age of 22. I would say, I don't know the percentage, but I would like to know, under a study, and we'll have a look at that, how many of them are still together with the missus. They've never been promiscuous. They've never been curious. They never, like, all of those years. Yeah, it's great to have kids when you're younger, because obviously by the age of 32, your kids are going to be 10. You can go and play football. All that is fabulous. But let's just be real. Relationships when you're younger don't work as well as the relationships when you're older. And you know why? Because of experience. You've already slept with 150 million people if you want it. You already got married. You have your kids. You've already gone traveling. You've done this. You spend this money. You've tried this. You've tried that. You've slept with this. You've gone to that sex party. You've got the whole list, and you're just like, and now what? Some people can never stop it, and that's the life they want to get and they want to be. They don't mature. They don't want their own discipline. They don't go to therapy. They don't go to a coach. And then what happens? This is the state on the life they will always be. So that means they're not growing. But then you have people, or men, I'm coming across them, where they've gone to therapy and they've gone to a stage where, like, well, that's empty. That's not teamwork. You can't build anything. It's different every single day. You're confused on what girl you're calling, who you're texting, are you copy and paste, who you're saying good morning to. Like, you go to that app, the other app. You don't have the time to even focus on what you need to focus, which is yourself, your own self-development. But that only takes experience. I
think that
and
I
choices.
agree, and choices for sure. And I definitely agree mostly. I think for the young couple, I definitely think if they're going to work, I think they need to just get rid of social media, just point blank period. I would say. But also I think it could work is if they have the right guidance, as in there should be an older couple who they go, okay, we want to get to where they are, if they're 40, 50, and they built the kind of life that they want, they built the kind of marriage or relationship they want, then they go to them for counseling. I think guidance is really important when you're younger, because the guidance is what helps the lack of experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
But go on.
I knew it was the but as much as somebody tells you something, you still want to go out there and do it.
There's always going to be curiosity for sure, but that's the whole, the grass always looks greener on the other side.
It looks.
Right? It looks greener.
But it ain't.
No, but I think that does take maturity, right? Because if you have someone who's mature, right, which there are people who are mature at a young age, right, they can recognize, okay, I get how this looks enticing, but especially, I'm going to be honest, especially if there are other single people and they're telling you, like, if you're a woman and you're 23 and you're married, right, and you're like, I never experienced like just being single. I never experienced just like having fun
all the time.
I know, but then especially if you hear from other women about how difficult dating is, about how, how terrible some guys are, about how some guys just use you for sex, and and then you never hear from them.
But I want some of that. I've never had it. Had it. I want to see it. I want to go to the clubs. I want to wear my.
She's for the streets, boy. Don't marry that one.
But that's what happens, isn't it?
I would say if a girl wants to do that, I think she should. But then don't be in a marriage. Like, don't be in a relationship.
Right.
I'd say that for guys.
But then initially, that's what she wanted. But is that what she wants 5 to 7 years later? Because her brain has not matured to be able to understand the whole process of growth, and it's the same as for men.
I disagree.
This is a psychological. Yeah, but this is a psychological thing. Sorry, I'm putting a little bit on the psychological side of things because of my studies.
Yeah.
But the problem that we have is every certain amount of years we change, we evolution.
Yep.
And we don't want the same things as we did before.
I 100% hear that, but I think sometimes there are at least that I've met, and maybe I have to see how they grow and change over the next 5-10 years, right? Maybe. But I've definitely met a few women where just sleeping around casually, just having fun like that has never been enticing for them. For them, the relationship they have with sex, the relationship they have with their bodies, is so sacred to them. They're like, I could never share my body with somebody who I didn't have deep affection, emotional connection with.
But what do they call affection? Because clearly nowadays, meeting a guy in the club and 2 dates later, they're in the bedroom. So,
but she wouldn't do that.
Whoa, that's what they say they don't. But you see my voice?
I'm just, like I said, and you could be right. In 5 years' time, I'm thinking of a few women I know specifically who I just know they've never ever had, at least what they've expressed and what I've seen, who they date and the relationships they've had. They've always had monogamous relationships. They've never been casually dating. Some girls are like, I want to try that and then I want to be monogamous. Some girls, I'm monogamous, but then they go to the point where they're like, nah, I want to indulge in the streets a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think there are some girls where, you know, they just don't want to, that's just not enticing. They may want something different with the current partner. They may want a different dynamic, change how the relationship is going or functioning or how they're both operating. But if we're talking about specifically the sexual indulgence in a casual way, I've seen, and this is anecdotal, so maybe they are really the exception, but I've seen a few women they're just like, that's never enticed them. They've always thought, that's not me. But I wanted to ask you about, you know how you said earlier about the experience, about for like a young couple?
Yeah.
Maybe this is controversial.
Oof.
I know. I think it actually does work better if the man has experience, but she necessarily doesn't. And the reason I say that is because studies have shown that the more sexual experience a partner's a woman has, the more likely she is to divorce her husband or whoever. Whereas for guys, there's not as much as a correlation. And maybe I think guys, it's more to do with income, potentially, or maybe the income of himself or position he is in life. But, and I'm just going what studies have said.
Yeah, it's okay.
That the higher sexual partner a woman has, the less likely she's going to have a successful relationship. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I think for guys, I think it is the same for guys, but I don't think the curve is that steep, because I definitely think for guys, you know, if a guy's been indulging sexually with multiple women and then suddenly he just has to commit to one overnight, he's not practiced exercising sexual discipline.
Right.
So
it has to be a stage.
He may not leave, but he's probably more likely to cheat, for sure.
One, to cheat, and then two,
definitely more likely to cheat.
I just feel like they have to go through a period where no sex is in the picture to be able to understand.
That's brutal.
Right. But that's a very difficult task for most men. I'm not saying no.
I think it was good for guys to entertain celibacy for a time.
Hope you really enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full episode where that clip is from, then I want you to click right here where you can watch the full episode. And if you're ready to claim your man today, enroll in my program below, and I'll see you there. Wishing you an amazing